Yeah.
She's got it now. All right, so continue unit conversions. Dimensional analysis. Well, it depends on how you want to look at it. All right. Okay. So we were talking about area. Length times width, base times height, depending on how you want to look at it. And we were talking about things like if we have a square that measures 1 meter on each side. So what is the measurement of the square?
1 meter square.
1 square meter or 1 meter square, depending on how you. But even if you write it this way, you should still read it square meter. Even though it's meter squared, it's still read square meter for some reason. So this is 1 square meter. Alright, so if I draw the exact same square, how many centimeters are in a meter? 100. Do you have to memorize these things? No, but it makes life go quicker if you can keep some of these numbers in your head. So if a meter is 100 centimeters, this would be 100 by 100. Oops, centimeters. So the area of this square would be 100 centimeters for the length, times another 100 centimeters for the width. And notice I'm leaving the cm in there. And I know like in elementary school they said drop the measurements, do the calculations with the numbers, and then bring the measurement back into play. Technically, you're really not supposed to do that. You're supposed to leave the measurements there. So first off, what's 100 times 100? 10,000. This is the last one we were doing anyways. And centimeter times centimeter is literally centimeters squared, which is read square centimeters. So even just by leaving the units in there, it tells you what kind of measurement spits out on the other side. It's up to you whether you want to do that or not. So what I was trying to get to last class is if there are 12 inches for every 1 foot, then 1 square foot, you want to know how many square inches there are. Well, the easiest way to do it is literally take both sides and square it. So you would square this side, it gives you square feet. If you square this side, you get square inches, but you also have to square 12, because eventually you're going to go 12 times 12. So it's 144 square inches for every square foot. All right. Ready for a really crazy one? If you have 1 square mile, and I want to convert it into square feet, how many feet are in a mile?
5,280.
5,280. So you'd put 5,280 and take that number and square it. So I'm curious, what's 5,280 squared? Just curious. It's going to be huge, whatever it is. We all have calculators, right? We're going to be using a lot of them this semester, so make sure you get a calculator. So let's see here, 5,280.
27,878,400.
You know what's really bad about reading numbers properly for a teacher up at a board? You have to do it as digits. It is 278788400. And then I can turn around and put my little commas in here and be able to read it. 27 million square feet. Isn't that crazy? 27 million square feet. Okay. Let's talk about cubic. Cubic measurements. We're going to be talking about volume, and volume is length times width times height. Length times width times height. So like if we wanted to find the volume of this room, we could measure across the front of the room on the baseboard. We can measure along the side of the room on the baseboard and measure how tall this room is. So if it's like 30 by 30 by 10, you would just go 30 times 30 times 10 feet, that would be. So if we had a room that was 30 feet by 30 feet by 10 feet, what would be the volume of the room?
9,000.
9,000 what?
Feet square.
Cubic feet.
Oh,
Because the rug would be measured in square feet, but if you filled this room up with water, it would be measured in cubic feet. So this is 9,000 cubic feet. And there's no good abbreviation for cubic.
Wait, why was it cubic? Oh, because it's 3.
Well, you could also look at it this way. If you have x times x times x, what's that equal?
3x.
No, it is not.
X.
X to the third power.
Oh, so it's because it's 3. Oh.
So if you do feet by feet by feet, that's feet cubed, but that's read cubic feet. Does that make sense?
Wait, I still don't get feet part.
Oh, this little mark here, that's feet.
Oh, okay.
You've never seen that?
Mm-mm.
So
Well,
this would be 4 feet 7 inches.
oh yeah, I've seen that.
I remember
the
inches.
When they measure your height or something.
Yeah, the length of the room is 30 feet, the width of the room is 30 feet, the height of the room is 10 feet.
So if it didn't have it marked, we would have to put feet, right?
You would put 9,000.
Oh, okay.
See, without measurements, there's no measurement, unless you understood what the measurement was. But a
Oh.
lot of people don't understand cubic feet. So I like putting the measurements in to show you where it's coming from.
Oh, okay.
So, if squared is always to the second, the cubic is always the third. I was trying to figure that out last night.
Yeah.
Okay,
This is read x to the third power, but it's also read x cubed.
okay.
And this would be, what's x times x?
X squared.
X.
It's x squared, but it's also known as x raised to the power of 2, depending on how you want to say it. So what does it mean to be a cubic foot? Well, it has to be a perfect cube. I love drawing 3-dimensional objects on 2 dimensions. It's really hard to do. It takes a lot of practice. So a cubic foot literally is 1 foot along the base, 1 foot along the, you can think of it as length, width, and then 1 foot along the height. So it's like a perfectly square hat box. Perfectly cubic hat box. 1 square foot is about this big. About that big. Very few things are measured in cubic feet. Usually you'd want to say gallons or something like that for volume. There is a relationship between cubic feet and gallons. I just don't remember what it is exactly. It's a weird number. I'll figure that one out later. All right. So when we're converting cubics, kind of like squares, you have to know how much of one is inside of another. For instance, if I have 1 cubic foot, that would be my nice little cube here. 1 foot on this side, 1 foot on that side, and 1 foot going straight up in the air. If you want, you could have like, if it was a clear object, it would have that. You could see the other side of the object. So if I do the exact same thing, same shape, oops, and I make it, instead of 1 foot, I want to change it into inches. Well, that 1 foot side is now going to turn into 12 inches. So it'll be 12 inches on a side. So the volume here is going to be 12 inches times 12 inches times 12 inches. What's 12 times 12 times 12? Or 12 cubed?
1728.
Oh, wait.
17,
28.
28. What measurement would I give it though?
Cubic inches.
Cubic inches. Yeah. So, for 1 cubic foot, there are 1,728 cubic inches. Does that sound ridiculous? Yeah. But you have to think, a cubic inch is, you know, this little tiny thing that only has an inch on a side, where a cubic foot is rather big. So it would take 1,728 of these little baby cubic inches to make up 1 cubic foot. All right, what about what would be the relationship between 1 cubic yard and cubic feet? In other words, how many cubic feet are in a cubic yard? So it kind of goes back to what we were doing with square units. All you got to do is take the linear measurement and square it. So here you just need to take the linear measurement and cube it. So what's the linear relationship between yard and feet?
3
There's
feet.
3 feet per yard. So when I put the 3 here, the other thing that I have to do is put cubed. Because I'm trying to change a yard into a cubic unit. 3 cubed is 27. So 1 cubic yard equals 27 cubic feet. And what I'm trying to do is get you away from memorization and a way to just figure out what these cubic units and square units and how to get to them. So if you know the linear relationship, which is on the paper, you can find the cubic relationship, which is not on the paper. It's not there. You won't see it anywhere on that conversion chart. Cubic inches to cubic feet and so forth and so on. All right. So for example, a problem-ish type thing. A room,
So the answer is 27.
27 cubic feet make up 27 cubic feet make up 1 cubic yard. Where a cubic yard would be, 3 feet on this side, 3 feet on this side, and 2 feet this way. And it would take 27 of those little square foot to make it up. So a room is 20 feet by 15 feet and needs a wall-to-wall rug. I used to do this problem as a throw rug, and it was a certain amount of distance from each one of the walls. That gets really tricky, so we'll just make it like this rug down here, touching the walls. The store will charge $38 per square yard. How much? Which one?
Let's go with this is
Charge.
Oh.
Yeah, I forgot my H. I write too fast. How much will this rug cost? How much will this rug cost?
3,800.
Now there's a problem with this. What's the problem? In other words, not the answer to the problem, what's the difficulty with this problem?
Feet and yards.
You got to convert
They just like work out
Yard.
answers. There's no such thing as raising hands anymore in this world. What's that?
I'm gonna be quiet.
No cubics in this one. There's absolutely no cubic anything in this one. It's all square whatever.
You're finding cubic feet that they're charging about
Cubic?
square foot that they're charging about a square yard.
Yeah. Your measurements up here are in feet. Your measurement down here is in, specifically the linear measurement at least, is yard. So there has to be some kind of conversion. Either you're going to change yards into feet or feet into yards. Now, do you remember which one is easier? Changing smaller ones into bigger ones or vice versa?
bigger ones and small.
It's always better to go bigger to small. That way your answers don't get too tiny. Bigger to small actually makes your numbers go bigger. So I usually change price per square yard into price per square feet. Now you could change the square feet into square yards. That's perfectly fine. but I don't know. Either one works perfectly well. So I usually start off with $38. Do I put it over 1?
Yeah.
Because I always set up my things as fractions.
Yeah.
And if you
Yeah.
don't, I highly suggest you start doing it and stop guessing at answers. Do I put it over 1? And the answer is
Yes.
no.
No.
Why? Because it has this word right after it.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
What does the per mean?
Eat. Well,
So it goes where? On the bottom. So the word after per goes on the bottom. So over square yard, or YRD. And we're going to multiply that by a fraction. What do I want to get rid of?
The square yard.
The square yard. So where does it go? Top or bottom?
Top.
Top. So square yard at the top. What do I want to change it to?
Feet.
Square feet, not just
Square
feet,
feet.
square feet. There is no way of changing a square yard into a foot. Impossible, trust me. So square foot. People have tried, trust me. They do weird things. All right, so what do I know? How many square yards are in a square foot, or how many square feet are in a square yard? Which one's easier? How many square feet are in a square yard? 9. Right, because the linear measurement is 3, and to change it into square, you have to take 3 and literally square it. And 3 squared is
I'm confused.
9. So there are 9 square feet for every 1 square yard. That becomes our unit, our one. So multiply that together, and what goes away? The square yards. So this square yard is going to disappear with that square yard. What operation exists between the numbers that are left over?
Division.
Division. So what's 38 divided by 9?
4.2222.
4.2222222 forever.
Mhm.
So that would be, in money terms, $4.22. I know the dollars is left over as a unit because it didn't get canceled out. What else is left over? Per square foot. So now I have my price in per square foot.
I did it all wrong.
Oh, 9.5.
If I have a foot here,
He said-
I'm sorry, a yard here and a yard here, and I draw the exact same square, but 1 yard is the same thing as 3 feet, right? What's the area of this square?
9. Okay.
That's where it comes from. Because there's 9 square feet in a square yard. All right. What was I going to talk about? Oh, remember last time I said that rug companies went from measuring square yards or pricing by the square yard to pricing by the square foot? This is the true price per square foot, but they made it like 5. So you're thinking, oh, I'm making a good, better deal. It's cheaper because the price is smaller, and if you divide by 3, it's a lot smaller. So they would raise the price up to 5, so therefore you think you're getting a good deal, but they're actually raising the prices, but without you realizing it for the most part. That's just tricks that they play. All right, so now what do I do with $4.22 per square foot? Well, I need something else in square feet.
The measurement that
Yeah, the measurement. So what does the 20 foot by 15 foot
300.
mean?
You want to do any?
What does it mean though? When you have a room that's 20 by 15, how much rug are you going to use up?
Is it 300 square feet?
So you take the 2 measurements, and when they say by, they always put a times in there, and they literally mean take those 2, multiply them together, and get the area. So the area of the room is length times width. The length is 20 feet. The width is 15 feet. And the answer is
300
300 what?
square feet.
Square feet. Because you're multiplying a foot by a foot, which gives you square feet. All right, now can I finish the problem off? Yeah. It's
Yes.
actually kind of easy. I have a number, individual value. So you go 300 square feet. What do I put it over? What do I put it over?
1.
1. This is not square feet per anything. It's just square feet. No.
Okay, so we finished that part, now we go back to one.
Well, now we're gonna take the two,
Okay.
well, we're gonna take the two answers and put them together.
Okay.
So I have 300 square feet, but it's not per anything, so
Right.
it goes
Okay.
over 1. Times, what do I wanna get rid of? That goes in the bottom. What do I wanna change it to? Money. So the dollars go up top, and it's $4.22 per square foot. But you always want to make sure those measurements you're trying to get rid of are diagonal to one another for this type of fraction. Later, you're going to deal with another one.
Cross out the square.
The square feet are going to go away, and all you're left with is money. So this will be in dollars. So what's 300 times 422 in money?
1,266.
Wow. It's a lot of money. And the rug will cost $1,266. I think last class we also discussed if you had a tub and it was measured in feet, that you would eventually get a volume in cubic feet, but the question then becomes how many gallons of water is that? And that conversion is really not nice. We were also talking about a cc. Remember cc? What's a cc? Cubic centimeter. So if you have a cube, a small one, and it measures 1 centimeter on a side, this is considered 1 cubic centimeter, also known as 1 cc. 1 cc. So far, so good? Now, where there's a very loose, or not even a very good relationship between cubic foot and how many gallons are in it, there is a wonderful relationship between a linear measurement, centimeter, and a volume measurement, liter, which is actually very, very nice. The US system, or the English system as it's known, doesn't have very good conversions between linear and volume. So the relationship is this. 1 cc also equals 1 milliliter. 1 cc directly, identically, is the same thing as 1 milliliter. Not even rounded. It's identically equal to it. So if I have 1 cubic meter, what does that equal in liters? That's going to be my question.
It's gonna be 1.
No. No. We have to go through a few little conversions to figure this out. So usually if you're going to measure a tub, you'd measure it either in centimeters or meters. If you're in Europe, it would be in meters or centimeters. It doesn't matter. But I want to know how many, if I have a cubic meter of liquid, how much is that in liters? Well, if I have a cubic meter, I got that thing that's a meter on each side. 1 meter here, 1 meter here, 1 meter here. That's 1 cubic meter of something. But each one of those sides could also be written in centimeters, because that's my relationship I'm looking for. I need to change this into centimeters. So how many centimeters are in a meter?
Cent to 100.
Cent is 100, so 100.
Okay.
So there are 100 centimeters for every single meter. So that would be 100 times 100 times 100. Oops, centimeters. What's 100 times 100 times 100?
1,000. What, 10,000?
1 million.
1 million.
Oh, 1 million.
100 hundreds is a million. Isn't that crazy? So this means 1 cubic meter equals a million cubic centimeters. Well, if it's a million cubic centimeters, it's also a million milliliters. So that's the same thing as 1 million milliliters. That's the beautiful thing. Once you get it into cubic centimeters, you can convert it automatically right into milliliters. Unlike that cubic foot to gallons, that's really nasty. Alright. So far we have 1 million milliliters. So the next question is this. 1 liter equals how many milliliters? One liter equals how many milliliters?
1,000.
1,000. So 1 liter equals 1,000 milliliters. So there's our conversion equation. Now we're going to switch it. So if I have 1 million, I'm going to write it properly. 1 million. It's a 1 with 6 zeros, right? Or 1e6, if you want to do scientific notation. This would be milliliters. It's a individual number, so I'll just put it over 1. It's not per anything. Times, what's my conversion fraction? What do I want to get rid of?
Milliliters.
Milliliters. He goes in the bottom, because the other one's in the top. What goes in the top? What do I want to change it to? Liters. Because I'm trying to figure out 1 cubic meter equals how many liters. All right, so how many milliliters per liter? 1,000 for every one. So what happens when you divide 1,000,000 by 1,000? What's a quick way of doing it without a calculator?
Take the
Trying to
zeros
get
off.
zeros off.
You just take all the zeros off. How many zeros here?
3.
How many zeros can I get rid of?
3.
3. You could do it on a calculator too, it'll give you the same answer.
I still do it.
That's fine. So my final answer over here is 1,000. Because that's all that's left, is 1,000 liters. So for 1 cubic meter of water, it's 1,000 liters of water. So there's a direct relationship between cubic meters, cubic centimeters, cubic milliliters, and liters, which is really, really nice. There is no direct relationship between cubic feet and gallons. Not a very nice one, but you can do it. All right, I think that finishes off some of it. Okay. How about this problem then? Let me start all over again. Now, anytime I come up with a relationship, this is equal to that, you can always use that as part of your conversion fractions later on. So if you have something that has cubic meter and you need to change it into liters, you know there's 1,000 liters for every cubic meter. So once you know one of these, you don't have to recalculate it later on. It's a constant. That one. We'll talk about that one in a second. That one in a second. So how about this? If I write any bigger, I won't have any space. So the question that I basically want to ask is, what uses more water? A shower or a bath? Shower or a bath?
Depends on how long you take a shower.
True, true. It really does.
A long shower.
Yeah.
My boys
2 hours
take a
later,
long
the
shower.
water tank is empty, you're still sitting there freezing your butt off.
So somebody else gonna be coming use out of hot water.
I was in a family of 7. If everyone took a shower in a row, the last 2 people were taking cold showers. Guaranteed without a doubt. And I was always last. I was the youngest. I was the last. I got used to the little chilly showers. Little chilly. Alright, now to determine the bath, that's actually the easier one. So how much water you use in a bathtub would require to know the dimensions of your tub, right? And how much you're going to fill it. So let's say your tub is, we're going to have to measure this in centimeters or meters. It really doesn't matter. Which one would you prefer, meters or centimeters?
Meters.
Meters.
Oh, God, okay. Meters. That way we can go right to liters, that's fine. So a tub, how long a tub is in meters? Do you know how long a meter is approximately in our units? Give or take a little bit?
It's
A meter, how big is a meter?
It's
in terms of feet or yards?
3.281.
Stop looking there.
About 3 feet.
About 3 feet. So how long is a tub usually?
6 feet, 8 feet.
I wish it would be 6 feet. I would fit. They're usually about 5 feet. So that's like
So you can fit.
You have an extra long tub.
wow, he's, yeah.
Lay down in there.
He's drowning there going to sleep. That's one thing I would never do is drown in a tub because I can't get down into it. So say 5 feet. How much would you say that is in meters? No, 2 meters would be like 6 feet. So 1.75, 1.7? About 1.7. Let's go with 1.7. So it's 1.7 meters long. How wide? We're not talking about those fancy tubs with the jets in it or anything, just a normal tub. How wide would you be?
3 feet.
3 feet, right? So about 1 meter? Let's say 0.75 meters, because it's really not, it's not really 3 feet, it's a little short of that. All right, how deep do you think you make the water? Now remember, you're going to get in, so the water is going to rise. So you don't want to fill it all the way, because if you do that, then you get in, it's just going to spill all over the place. I make you think of things that you usually don't think of.
A little more than half.
Half a meter? About a half a meter. Half a meter. All right, so the volume of our tub volume is going to be 1.75 times 0.75 times 0.5. What is that? Let's keep it kind of accurate too.
0.6375.
0.6375? 0.6375.
That's right.
Okay. Measurement? Units, in other words?
Meters.
So your tub is
Cubic meters.
just a certain distance long and you can't fill it with water.
Is it
Cubic
meters?
meters. Cubic meters. All right, we just discussed that for every cubic meter takes 1,000 liters. So I have this number, cubic meters, and I want to change it into liters. So I want to get rid of cubic meters, that goes in the bottom, and I want to change it into liters, that goes in the top. So how many liters in a cubic meter?
1,000.
So you put 1,000 liters for every single 1 cubic meter. So all I have to do is multiply that by 1,000. Now without a calculator, what's the easy way of multiplying by 1,000? Move the decimal.
Over towards
Two.
the right.
How many zeros?
Two.
How many zeros?
3.
3. So this is 637.5 liters. That's how much water would fill the tub. If you divide that by 2, that would be how many 2-liter bottles you'd have to pour to fill up your tub so you could take a bath.
318.
So what's that divided by 2? About 300. So it would take 300 2-liter bottles to fill your tub for a bath. Kind of crazy, huh? All right, now for a shower, what do you need to know? How long you're taking it. So I need to know the time. So how long are we taking a shower? Not you.
2 minutes.
5 minutes. Ew.
You can take a shower in 5 minutes.
15 minutes.
30 minutes.
2 minutes.
15, 20
You
minutes.
said not me.
Oh, you think 20 minutes is a long shower?
15 minutes.
Oh, no. I've taken 40-minute showers.
Sound like my boys.
So let's say 15 minutes. What else do you need to know how much water you're using?
Or how much
Plus the
drink flow?
How fast the water comes out of the shower head. So, how would you measure how fast water comes out of your shower?
Water pressure.
Well, but there's other ways of doing it. You could take a container, hold it underneath it. You would have to have a container that has like a gallon or something like this. In this case, a liter. So you would take a liter container, you turn on your shower, you fill it up. What else do you have to measure while you're filling it up? The time it takes to fill it up. So we need to know it's
The pace, wait.
It's called a rate,
Oh.
kind of like miles per hour. It's going to be of that type, but in this case, it's going to be liters per minute or second or whatever. So let's say we measure this in, how many liters per minute do you think would this a shower produce? Now remember, a liter is a half of a 2-liter bottle. I would say about 2 liters per minute, easily,
Yeah.
if not more. If not more. So let's just go 2 liters per minute. Per minute. You also could time how long it takes to fill up your bathtub, and then divide by, how many liters your bathtub is filled, divided by how much time it took, and that's your water rate. All right, so how do I change a 15-minute shower at 2 liters per minute into how much liters I'm using?
Lord have mercy.
It's not that hard. What's the one thing I have?
Minutes.
15-minute shower. So you start off with 15 minutes. It's only an individual number, so you put it over 1. What do I want to get rid of? The minutes. What do I want to change it to? Liters. And it's 2 liters per minute. So 2 liters per every single minute. So how many liters are you using? 30. When all is said and done, pretty much taking a shower uses about half as much water as a bath. But I'm assuming that it's 2 liters per minute. It probably could be up to 5. Even if it was 5 liters a minute, what's 5 times 15? 75, right? Still a lot less than 600 liters.
Yes, sir.
But it all depends on how long you're taking the shower.
How long you're taking the shower and how fast the water's coming out. Now you have a little control on that. You don't have to crank it and go all the way out. You can let it dribble a little bit. My dad would always make us cut it off while we wash our hair. Turn off the water, wash your hair. Go figure. All right. A couple practical problems going to conversions that we'll be talking about next class also. You might want to put a star by this one. You're going to have to deal with this today on your own without my help. A nurse prescribes 20 milliliters of Tylenol 3.
That's one of the questions.
Is it? Good. A nurse prescribes 20 milliliters of Tylenol 3. What's Tylenol 3? It's not Tylenol you buy at the store.
Tylenol, Codeine.
It has codeine in it. You can only get it by prescription. Too bad.
Oh, that's that sleepy.
Yes, it is too bad.
It's awesome stuff. Every 4 hours. What does it mean to be every 4 hours? You take it every 4 hours. What does that mean?
4 hours after you take the first dose.
Yeah, but what does it mean in terms of days? Because you're going to be looking at it as how many times a day rather than every 4
Oh,
hours.
it's 3/4 of a day. So it's days.
I mean, a
It's
day.
It's 6.
Oh,
It's 6
12
times a day.
hours of
No,
of
a day is how many hours?
Wait, I mean, that means it'd be 6.
You just do 24 divided by
There's only 12 hours in a day.
But you sleep about the other 12 hours.
No, they don't count. If you're prescribed every 4 hours,
You can't take medicine while you sleep.
if they prescribe it this way, they have to
Yes.
give it every 4 hours. A nurse is going to come in and give it to you. They're going
Yes,
to.
they will.
Have you ever been in the hospital?
You don't get any sleep.
They don't let you sleep. They come and
No, they
poke,
don't.
prod.
That's true.
All right, so this is 6 times a day. Tylenol 3, I'll just write it this way, has, I didn't look this up, I should have, 5 milligrams for every 8 milliliters. So for 8 milliliters of the liquid, inside of it is 5 milligrams of Tylenol 3. The rest is regular Tylenol and whatever other filler there is, usually something sweet or something. I don't know. Say it's for a little kid. How much codeine is prescribed per day? And there's websites where you can find out how much of this stuff would be an overdose. You can always look this stuff up and say, if you take this much, you're overdosing automatically. What's funny is this happens all the time. Somebody does a miscalculation and you're taking 3-4 times as much as you're supposed to, which causes you to get, well, sick, and you get to stay in the hospital even longer. But it's so easy to make miscalculations. I wish I posted it on Moodle, but there's an article of the greatest measurement mistakes in the world. There was one of them which I thought was kind of cool. Well, one of them was France built this new train, and it's this wide. But the platforms that, the people get on the train are this wide.
Yeah.
So they had to take the platforms and break them and make them
Wider.
wider. Someone didn't measure them properly. Another one is 2 different countries were building a bridge over a gorge or a river or something. And one country was measuring in their weird measurement, and another one was measuring in another weird measurement, and the bridge came like this.
Yeah.
One was too high and one was too low, and they had to break the bridge down, half of it, and rebuild it. So when you're dealing with measurements, mistakes are very, very common. All right, so how do I find out how much Tylenol was here? Well, you start off with how much you're being given. Now, it's your choice. You can do 20, or you could do, probably not, I haven't checked it lately. Or you can change this into per day right away. So if it's 20 milliliters, but it's every 4 hours, I highly suggest you take those 2 and put them together. So what do I do to the 20 to make it per day? Well, if you don't know, you start off with 20 milliliters. And it's going to be every 4 hours, but 4 hours is one, I don't even want to do it with a fraction. It's much easier to go 20 milliliters. We already discussed how many times per day that would be. It would be 6 per day. 6 doses. 6 doses. So this would be how many milliliters? 120. Alright, so it's best to get rid of that per every 4 hours or whatever, and just change it into a day right away. So 20 milliliters times 6 gives you 120 milliliters per day. Okay. So what do I want to do with 100? Dang it, I can't write today. 120 milliliters. I'm going to ignore the per day because it just gets in the way because my answer is eventually going to be per day. So what do I do with 120 milliliters of Tylenol 3? What do I want to get rid of? The milliliters, because codeine is measured in milligrams. So right off the bat, you know you need to get rid of milliliters. So milliliters. What do I want to change it to? Is there a relationship between milligrams and milliliters? Yeah. It's right here.
Oh,
There's 5 milligrams for every 8 milliliters. So you go 5 milligrams for every 8 milliliters. All right, so what operation do I need to do? Well, multiplication and division. So 120 times 5 divided by 8. So there's going to be 75 milligrams of codeine. And if I remember right, that's an overdose. If I remember right, that is an overdose of codeine. I think the maximum you're supposed to have is about 50. I can look it up, but that's what I remember. So, for example, you're driving down the highway at 75 miles per hour. Are you one of those drivers that when traffic slows down that you get really close to them?
No.
Well, if you are, pay attention. So you're driving at 75 miles per hour, so traffic is going at 75 miles per hour, you get 10 feet away from the car in front of you. Well, let's make it 30. 30 feet away from the car in front of you. They slam on their brakes, what's going to happen? You're going to rear end them, guaranteed without a doubt. No ands, if, or buts, and I'm going to show you why. So, how far do you travel when the person in front of you slams on their brakes? How many seconds does it take you to take your foot off? Well, number one, recognize that the brakes are on. Realize you have to take your foot off the gas and apply it to the brake and actually slam on the brake. Now, most people, when they touch the brake, They don't want to slam on it because it causes, well,
Your brakes
scary
are locked up.
skidding and all that fun stuff. So how many seconds do you think it takes to recognize and apply?
1 second.
You think you could do it in 1 second? It's between 3 and 5 seconds for people to go, oh my God, and literally take their foot off the gas and put it on the brake. 3 to 5 seconds. So my question is, how far do you travel in 2 seconds? Let's say you're Superman. And you can recognize it and move your muscles really quickly to that brake. 2 seconds, recognition to brake time. So what do I need to do? Well, I need to take 75, and how do I write it?
Miles
Miles
per
per
hour.
Do I just write MPH?
No.
No.
When you see the
Oh,
word
yeah.
per, you got to put the per part in the bottom. So this is miles in the top, per hour in the bottom. You cannot write it as 75 mph and do this conversion fraction. You have to use the per as a fraction. What do I want to multiply by? Well, how far do I travel in 2 seconds? I have to change hours into seconds. But do I want it measured in miles? Do you think you travel miles in a couple seconds?
No.
What do you normally travel?
Feet.
Feet. So we're going to also have to convert miles into
Feet.
feet. So let's change miles into feet first now. Let's do both of them at the same time. So if we want to get rid of hours, we'll put hours in the top, right? That'll get rid of hours. What do I want to change it to?
Seconds.
Minutes.
Do you know how many seconds are in an hour?
Oh,
You always want to go by something you know.
minutes.
So minutes. How many minutes in an hour?
60.
So it'd be 60 minutes for every single hour. But I don't want minutes either.
1 second.
1 second. So I want to get rid of minutes. That goes in the top. And I want to change it to
60 seconds.
seconds. How many minutes in a second?
1 minute.
Wait, what?
Hold up, what? How many seconds in a minute? 60.
Well, I said it again.
Well, I asked the other question though, and you answered it incorrectly, so be careful with my question. Alright, so that'll get rid of hours, that'll get rid of minutes, and now we're doing miles every single second. That's okay. Now, let's multiply by another fraction. What do I want to change miles into?
Feet.
Feet. Alright, so miles is on the top way over here, and I want to put it on the bottom way over here. That way they cancel. And I want to change it into, how many feet in a mile?
5,280.
5,280. Such a weird number for every single mile. So when I do this calculation, there's lots of different ways of doing it because the order of operations between multiplication and division, you can do it in any order you want. But me personally, I like doing the multiplication first and then all the division. So what's 75 times 5,280? Just get it in your calculator and don't tell me what the number is. That would be feet per hour. That's a lot of feet. So 75 times 5,280, get that answer. Divide that answer by 60, because 60 is in the bottom. Divide that answer also by 60, and you get
110 feet.
110 feet.
I thought it was something.
First.
2 seconds now.